No, we're not talking about a deer farm. We're going to talk about the barnyard. Alright, so earlier this morning, I saw that 8-pointer. You know, he was probably a 2-year-old deer, pretty small, but I've been just driving and driving trying to find a track. This is my last day to really do a full-on tracking job. The season closes on Wednesday for muzzleloader, so this is pretty much the last hurrah. But I've been driving around and I found a track that's, I mean, it's decent. It's not huge, but I'm hoping that it's probably at least a 3-year-old or something. That's what I'm hoping for. A couple things I like about this track are that it's a standalone track. He's by himself, so I like those kinds of tracks. You know, that gives me a better indication that it's probably a buck. It seems like for the most part all the does out here, they're usually in a group, at least with one other deer, and so the fact that this is a standalone track makes me think that it is a buck. And then the other thing is that he's kind of got, like, on his one hoof, it's a little bit longer than the other, by quite a bit, and it looks like it's actually been chipped off. So maybe that's from wear and tear. Maybe he's a little older than I think. I don't know. But those are the two main things that I like about the track. He's also weighing pretty heavy and real flat-footed in the track. So we'll see. We'll go in. I think that he's out here to feed, maybe possibly to bed. But it's kind of a slashing all around me back up over here. So usually they're going out to feed in this stuff, but I have kicked up some deer bedding out here, but we'll see what happens. That's encouraging. Just found a rub right here. My truck is just parked right up the hill right there, so I've only gone about 30 yards, and a nice rub. Alright, so he scraped up the ground here. You can see some spots where tine marks were made in the snow. Couple steps further and this is where he pooped. It's frozen though, but not covered in any snow, so that's good. This is proving to be very difficult. This buck went right into a major feeding area of a bunch of deer, and I can't make out his track now because it's just so sloshed in with other tracks and so much stuff happening. So I'm gonna just keep searching around here, maybe do some big circles and see what I can find. So I kept making the circle after that, but I got so frustrated because I couldn't seem to find where his track was going. I mean, there was deer tracks everywhere, all over this area. And as you could see in the video, there was deer everywhere. So the sign was so heavy in that area that it almost made it impossible to track this buck. And I got so frustrated, I just gave up on it. Now, generally speaking, when you get to this area that they, a lot of people call the barnyard, and they call it a barnyard because it's like this area that has high concentrations of animals. If you get into a barnyard like that, your best bet is to simply just make a big circle around that area and try to catch that track going out in a different direction. I thought I had done that in one of those instances, but it ended up not being the right track. The lesson that I learned from this hunt, though, is that I need to be more patient when I get into a barnyard area. I need to make sure that I do the full loop all the way around, because I didn't in this instance because I got so frustrated. So I need to be patient and make the full loop. And then the second thing is that maybe spend a little bit more time trying to target a buck in an area where there isn't quite such a high concentration of deer. Now, this obviously isn't always in a person's control, but I think that a lot of guys that do buck tracking that are successful are finding tracks that are out in the middle of the woods where there's not necessarily a big feeding area. So I'm going to take those things into consideration this next season when I go out and try to track a buck. And hopefully I'll grow in my ability to be patient and to really follow through on all the steps to try to get after a big buck. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.